Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, a tabGeeks network show. Each week we take you through everything announced by Google Workspace, discussing the updates and other relevant news and announcements. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. As we said last week, we invite all of our podcast listeners to join us over on YouTube or click the link on our website, workspacerecap.com. Please do us a huge favor and subscribe on YouTube, even if you don't usually watch the videos, as we need to reach a certain number of subscribers to unlock the custom URL and the full feature set of YouTube partner status. So that would be really, really helpful. Anyway, Steve, how's it going?
Well, good. We're trying to get up to that 100 subscriber mark. That gives us that.
That's step one.
Custom URL. That's step one. Exactly. So that would be great. I think once we get there, we'll get that, hopefully Workspace Recap identity and the URL, which would be great. So I think we're up at 38 or so now.
Something like that. Yeah.
Posted it a few places today and ended up getting like 20% more subscribers.
Oh yeah.
Which is like 6 more people. 20%. Big percentages when you're small.
Oh yeah.
We're getting there. But yeah, actually what I was really surprised about is when you said that we had 90 views already after the week. And I'm like, well, we didn't really even promote it at all, hardly. And I thought 90.
Thank you, YouTube, for making an amazing algorithm.
Well, right. Because we usually get anywhere from 100 to like 200 plays in the podcast. So right. Seeing that on the video all of a sudden was like, okay, we're almost like, increasing by 50 to 60% already, the viewership.
Well, we average 200 to 250 pretty much every week, depending on the topic. Some of the episodes get more, some of them get less, some of them get more the longer they're out.
Within the first week, it's smaller because now that we've had them there for so long, those numbers are getting high, those averages are getting higher. But yeah, within the first week, I think we're all seeing around 150, right?
Give or take, yeah. It depends on the week. They've been steadily rising, but to see it all of a sudden on YouTube, to have nearly 100 views on there on a platform that was completely inactive 4 days ago is phenomenal.
Yep. So we'll get some more. And I did this time, got my hair cut. So,
I thought it looked a little bit nicer there.
Yep. Yeah.
Very nice. Got the gel, the whole spiky thing going on? No, I'm just kidding.
This is just natural. This is just cut it short and
very nice.
Up top. Yeah.
The top bar on the headset spikes your hair for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very nice. Finally made it to the stylist after all these months.
I did.
So Google went balls to the wall this week and gave us a grand total of 1 update.
Very, very busy this week. Yeah.
They did sneak in another one there.
They did. Yeah. We kind of grabbed 2 in the end of week recap post. So we had, it's the sales kickoff. So Accelerate is going on right now for all the Googlers out there. So it is a bit of a quiet week to start the year off. Typically is the update that we saw was PowerPoint files have you can upload larger PowerPoint files now into Google Slides. And then the one update that we did see last week was that you can use new enterprise certificate conditions to set context-aware access rules for company managed devices. And then, like I said, Accelerate's going on right now with Google sales staff and some partners, I think, are involved in that. I think it's a few select ones that get involved in that process. And then speaking of YouTube, looking back at that, in addition to having the episodes on the tabGeeks YouTube channel, we'll have a link to the Workspace Recap playlist for last week, and then kind of every week's episode in order so that you can quickly watch them all at once if you want. I don't know how many people would do that, but we'll have a link to the playlist in the channel for you to access that. And then an interesting article that you found, Jesse, was why this, my 2-person company bought a Workspace Enterprise Plan. And we'll talk a little bit about what was in that article and reference some things that we talked about in previous episodes when we talked to some Googlers and, what you might need to do to reach out to Google if you don't know who your account manager is or you have some questions that you need answered. And I don't know if we know, I'm trying to remember the episode with Asher, I think is probably the best one to go back and look on. and hopefully we can find out which episode that was. I'll find it out here so we know. So that, I believe, was episode 46, of last season. So check that out. That was around, let's see when this was. Around November 15th or 16th, around that date.
That was what to expect when working with a Google Account Manager, right?
Yeah, Google Account Manager. If you don't know who your Google Account Manager is, that was a good episode that kind of dives into the details a little bit more. So check that episode out if you are curious about what that process is like. But we will kind of quickly recap some of that when we talk about the article. And that is essentially all we have this week for you. So going to be a pretty concise episode. But hopefully we'll, get some information out there. Because, I think that the thing is you never know who's listening, right? So with these episodes, we obviously have a lot of people that are coming back and listening to us for, those new updates. But then we also have new listeners that are, not going to be familiar with what we've said in previous episodes, and regular listeners that come in and listen to a few episodes but miss a few, and who knows, they might have missed that one when we talked to Asher. So
yep,
talk a bit about that. But all right, so jumping into those updates, then let's dive in to those two. So the first one that we mentioned was PowerPoint file limit increasing in Google Slides. So this now means that you can have up to 300 megabytes of PowerPoint data feeding into Google Slides using Office editing mode. So previously 100 was the max. And the way this kind of how it works here says once imported, you can save back your edits to the underlying PowerPoint PPTX file. And it's going to be available to all. This is available to all Workspace customers as well as users with personal accounts. And we'll link to the help article that talks about the working with Office files using Office editing, where you can read a little bit more about that. That's just a really cool feature. So for anyone that's not familiar with some of these features, and I find it it's in a lot of the communities, not necessarily Mac admins or Better IT, however, but in, let's say, Reddit or some of the other ones where you're seeing a lot of people, signing up to Workspace, maybe as, very small companies, less than 10 people, or setting it up as an individual. They're really not familiar with these features that are available on Google. And one of the great features is, being able to edit those Office documents without converting it by having it in Drive, and natively editing a Microsoft file without having a Microsoft application on your machine, which is just, you can barely, you can't even, the Microsoft Viewer application, right? So if you don't have a license to the Microsoft Office suite, you can't edit a document, right? Well, with Workspace, you can. With Google Drive, you can. With a consumer Gmail account, you could edit Microsoft documents without having an Office license, which is just amazing. I think it's an amazing feature that I think doesn't get talked about enough.
No, for sure. And I think it's also a game changer for those who are buying Chromebooks and don't really understand, it doesn't have a full version of Office, or what do I do with Office? What do I do when I get Office documents? Right. That's what you do, is you can just work with them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Edit it natively, send it back, share it back, whatever, attach it back on your typical email process of attachments, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
So pretty cool. And then, so then the one update we did have is that with context-aware access rules, being able to detect company-managed devices with enterprise certificates now. Previously, you used to be able to only recognize company-owned device by uploading a serial number into your device management system, or into device management list. And now what you can do is set the fingerprint of your corporate certificate on those devices. So for companies that are probably a little bit larger, or doing a little bit more advanced device management with certificates, for example, obviously this is certificates, you can now configure that context-aware access policy to look at the device certificate fingerprint and set that. So it will essentially, it'll look at the CA root certificate fingerprint and then match that up and recognize that is company owned. So it could, pulling serial numbers may not be feasible. You might have already, had a big device state that's already been configured and deployed. You don't have the serial numbers anymore, but that certificates are on there because, of course, those certificates are being used to access things like maybe, 802.11x Wi-Fi networks or authenticate through the VPN, things like that. So the certificate's going to be on that device. So this is another way to recognize that company-owned device and then allow access into those Google applications, as well as some of the SAML applications that you may have configured as well. And this feature is going to be available for the Workspace Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Standard, Education Plus, and Cloud Identity Premium customers. And it will not be available for anyone else. So limited availability, but a very good availability, or a really good feature nonetheless for those that do have those SKUs. So that was all the updates we have, Jesse.
Well, like we said, Google's been busy getting their teams ready to go for the year. So we'll allow it just this once, but we hope they get back to work soon.
Yeah.
A lot of good things coming.
Yeah.
They have our entire wish list to get finished.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I didn't actually look at what I forgot to have a quick look at was the visible changes doc to kind of see what is on the roadmap. Not roadmap,
what's coming.
But what's coming soon.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we've probably got, a few things coming there and should be good.
So the other topics that we had here, one of them is just a link to our YouTube playlist for all of the episodes of Season 2 of Workspace Recap. I wonder if I should go back at some point and upload Season 1 to YouTube as well. Might have to think about how I can do that. I could probably do like a waveform, because it's not video upload. We recorded.
Oh, yeah.
We recorded just audio.
Right.
But at least, I don't even know if it's relevant, right? It's last year's feature updates. It's there already. It's all, well, I won't say all that stuff rolled out because that would be a lie. But for the most part, it did. And anything that didn't, we're going to recover when it does roll out in terms of the big feature updates and redesign to Gmail and stuff like that. So maybe not. Maybe we'll just save my time and start with Season 2. I guess we'll have to see how many new organic listeners we get and what they're interested in.
Yeah. You know what
are
I
you going
did
to say?
See? Well, you know what I just did? I did see right now. I was logging into the Google Cloud community and just stumbled across a new tab up at the top called Workspace Events.
Really?
Yeah. And there is a Meet the Expert coming up on January 18th, Tuesday, January 18th.
Hell yeah.
It says, Meet the Expert Google Workspace Admin Webinar Series, Billing and Managing Subscriptions. Are you new to Workspace? Just starting out as an admin, running into challenges with your account? We're here for you. So this kind of relates actually to our article that we talked about. So if you are new to Workspace and have some questions, this is probably going to be a great event for you to attend.
Absolutely.
And
ties right in.
So, yep.
We'll just drop that into the show notes.
Do that. So yeah, there's a couple links. There's the community URL post, talking about it, and then there's also the Save Your Spot link. So yeah, there's just so many links for this. So this is actually one of the things that is still a constant challenge, which and I say we, it's a group of people that try to talk to the Googlers that are, maintaining these communities and saying, we need a better way to see events that are up and coming because they're kind of all over the place, right? You have some people posting them into these, into Cloud Connect, for example. You have some people posting them, yes, still over on Currents, the former Google Plus. They're doing some stuff over there still in some of those communities. And then you have some where they're just, marketing campaigns to target customers or target partners, and they don't really get out to everyone, and not everyone knows about it. So the Accelerate, for example, that started this week was, oftentimes, more broadly publicized to partners, and it was kind of not communicated to everyone. But some Googlers posted it on Twitter and said, "Hey, Accelerate's happening starting on this Monday." So it's there's still some ways to centralize that. And there's there's improvements to be made to centralize that information and get it in kind of one place. So hopefully this is the start of some of that, is getting it there. So
yeah, there were several events last year that I found out about just because we have a chat group of some expert admins, Google Workspace admins, that we're a part of. And they're like, "Oh, wow, this cool thing was just announced. What do you guys think about this?" And I'm like, "Wait, what? Where was this announced?" And everybody chimed in, like, "Where is this? What are you talking about?" And it was like, "Oh, well, it was in this one obscure event that nobody knows about." Or when I'll post something, they'll be like, "Hey, how'd you get in? The feed's not working, or the stream isn't live for me." And then it's like, "Oh, here, take this link. This is the direct YouTube link." And it's just like, it's Google. Come on, guys. You can do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking here, there's 2 past events that we didn't even talk about that happened December 7th and December 14th.
Oh, man.
It was how to set up a Google Workspace account and buy a new domain, which is December 7th. And then how to set up a Google Workspace account with your own domain on December 14th. So
all good things for newbies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of our listeners, I think that we have now, at least, probably this would not have been too beneficial to, but knowing where that's at, where this information is at, is going to be pretty helpful, because I think there will be better things to come in the near future in terms of events here where they're posting this.
I will note that if you go on there and you go to the past events, and at least the one I'm looking at, which is Navigating the Future of Work Session 1 from July 28th, 2021, if you click on it and click register here, it does take you to the actual event page of this, in particular, Thought Leadership Series, and you can watch on demand the recorded session if you register. So you can still see the stuff that's on here, and this is one of the ones we talked about this back when this happened. Andy Yates, a buddy of ours, he's the head of strategy and tech ops over at ThoughtWorks. He was one of the speakers on this one. Javier Soltero, of course, spoke on this one, and this was a pretty good event. So, if you're interested and you haven't seen that, you can go back and watch it, because they still haven't really rolled out some of the stuff that they were talking about back then. So it's still relevant.
Yep. Yeah.
So even though we missed them, you can still go and watch them. So go and dig around there, and we'll give you some of the links on that. The article that we were talking about before is from ZDNet and or ZDNet for the Canadians and Europeans of you out there. Is titled "Why My Two-Person Company Bought a Google Workspace Enterprise Plan." And essentially what happened was they got the email that we talked about a little while back, where it's rolling out kind of sporadically to different customers throughout the year, but essentially says, "Action required, begin your transition from G Suite to Google Workspace." And this is happening for all customers that have not yet switched their licenses over to the new Google Workspace licenses and are still on the what I guess is considered now legacy licenses. I must admit, on one of my accounts, I am still one of them. So I definitely have this email. We'll probably get 2 or 3 other emails from Google saying, "Hey, you really have to update," or "Hey, you're updating as of now," or something along those lines. But essentially, this was a small business in the article that they're referring to, and essentially they started following the instructions in this email in order to upgrade their accounts. Now, one of the things that they came across is the fact that they have an enormous amount of data stored in Google Drive. They have 5 file servers on premises, and that they have a combined storage of 200 terabytes. And so some of it is duplicate, and they do the 3-2-1 backup strategy, which they link to and talk about in there. But essentially, they're saying, okay, they have 47 terabytes in Google Drive, and that's a problem for them because the standard Workspace business plan allows only 2 terabytes per user, and the business plan had allowed for 5 terabytes, etc. So they jumped up to the enterprise level so they could have quote unquote unlimited storage. But what does it mean for unlimited storage? And so they continue going through some of the frustrations that we've discussed here in the past and have dealt with, and I'm sure many of you have dealt with as well, in terms of trying to get in touch with Google to get a real answer of, well, hey, we're a small business. We're just a small crew. We did not go in and set up Google Workspace through a partner or another company that works with Google to help people like us get on. And I made the same mistake when I started out, by the way, as well. As I said on this podcast in the past, I've been using Google Apps for years back when it was free. What do I need a partner for? They're just going to cost me money. Well, no, they're free. Google pays them as part of your licensing, but essentially in this case, in the article, they had not gone through a partner, and so they did not have that resource to leverage, because they will answer a lot of those questions for you, as Steve can go into more detail and tell you about.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's the knowledge that a partner has that they can tell you that Google can't.
Right.
So there's going to be, this is what Google Help article says, right? And that's what it says. And that's what Google support, or even an account manager, oftentimes, sometimes you get a good one and they'll tell you, what is actually possible, what's not, just what's written in the article. But partners have more flexibility to say, well, this is what the article says, but based on our experience with all of our customers, here's what's actually happening. Google is not enforcing this on any of the domains, or it's very selectively. It's kind of like, randomly enforcing it sometimes. And that's kind of what the case was before with those, 5 users, is that, well, we had, I think had 1 or 2 users on a domain, and we had unlimited storage. We had terabytes and terabytes of storage there, right?
Even though the official line is you must have 5 or more in order to get that unlimited storage.
Yeah. And I
think
think what's happening now is that they're getting closer and closer to actually enforcing that for everyone.
Right.
I think before they have been very, like, here's the policy, but not enforce.
Right. Lax about it.
Yeah. And they're getting closer to this. We're seeing it affect a lot of the education domains, especially recently.
Oh, wow.
Now, well, right. Because there's schools out there that have, a 100 terabyte limit, and not 100 terabytes. Yeah. 100 terabyte limit. And, they're at, 2-3 times that capacity right now, because they have, 10, 20, 30, 40,000, 100,000 students, whatever it is. And, if you take the average of that, it's actually probably not, that big of an amount, but, there are limits that these schools are now facing in terms of their data storage. And they have to think about, how do we create policies around the data retention, data storage, alumni accounts, especially for universities, those kind of things. And, even having communicated these storage limitations for quite some time, and, giving people a lot of time to, understand that and digest that, things are getting pushed back even further. So there are dates that Google have put in place to say, let's say by, end of February, let's say 2022, these storage limits are going to go in place. Well, these things we're now seeing, getting extended out a little bit further till the end of the year. And, these are some things that you're not seeing in official articles yet, but you're seeing with some accounts. And, you're hearing like, okay, this is going to be this will be official at some point. And again, this is the information you get from having a partner that you don't necessarily get going direct to Google or anything else. So it's still, something that a lot of customers are like, well, why should I add a partner? It's just going to add more complexity to the whole process, and, that kind of thing. It doesn't really. It's, you still
it's very helpful.
Google. Yeah. Exactly. So.
Yeah, well, given how long it's taken Google to fully sunset the legacy Google Sites platform, I think the implementation and enforcement of this will be fine for the next 5 years or so. Till they announce the next major overhaul. Then they'll start enforcing this one. No, I'm joking. But it may be a while, so, cross that bridge when you get there, I suppose.
Yeah, in terms of updates, I was kind of taking a sneak peek here at upcoming updates. And interesting little thing about the enterprise certificates is it came out a week early. Or actually over a week early. It was supposed to be rolled out on January 18th, and it rolled out already. So that came out early. There are some interesting ones coming out around chat and Meet and some other things. And so I think there'll be some there that you'll be pleasantly surprised to see. One is around, I'm really interested in, it's something that I highlighted to Google a long time ago, that I've highlighted in a few communities. Let's just say, well, what I can talk about, I can say that what's been possible, right? And then when this new feature comes out, you guys will see that it's now harder to do this and to get away with it. But what you can do right now is, let's say I have access to a file in, I've been shared in a file within your organization, Jesse, and I want to make a copy of that because I want to see it. I want to just make sure that if you delete it or remove my access, well, I want to make sure I have access to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now, if I take your document and do, file, make a copy, you don't know that I made a copy. You know that I viewed it. You might be able to see that I viewed it, right? Because you can see that view event,
right?
But you can't see that I copied it,
correct,
at all. So that's been a challenge for, data exfiltration, for example, and some ways that you can kind of get around it that I had seen was, well, say you go to file, make a copy, and you make a copy into, your shared drive and not the location where the file's at, because if you, create a copy in the location where the file's at, someone might see it briefly or whatever. But you can choose the destination where it goes, and you put that file into your own environment, and you don't really see anything happening. So it wasn't really a log of anything. So there might be some improvements on that coming.
All right.
Maybe.
Stay tuned.
We'll see. Yeah.
So I think that's our show.
All right.
Nothing else going on. So once again, check us out over on YouTube. Just search for Google Workspace Recap or Workspace Recap even. It shows up because, let's face it, Google search is YouTube search and YouTube search is Google search. And it is amazing.
Really good name.
And we have a really unique marketable name. Yeah, we're big fans of the name, and I think Google is as well. So anyway, that's all for this week. Send us your questions and comments on Twitter at Workspace Recap and on our website, workspacerecap.com. You can now drop your likes and comments on our YouTube videos. So head over there if you want to put the comments publicly. That's a new thing that we can do. We've never really had that before, so pretty excited to see some of that. Shout out to Ash, who we had from the very beginning of season 1, pop back up on our videos here, congratulating us on a good season.
Yeah.
Episode 5. He's one of the OGs. He's an OG listener there. Yeah. So good to hear from you, buddy, and happy to see that you're still rocking out with us. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun season 2 with a lot of new updates. And hopefully everyone also join us over on YouTube and see what we're talking about and see our wonderful stylized faces over on YouTube there. So anyway, hit the subscribe button on YouTube or on any of your favorite podcasting hosts. We're on all of them. Leave us a review if you would. We'd appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Workspace Recap.